Starseed from Gaia, the one the entire world keeps searching for, has already chosen you, and only you. I am Oelia, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light. I bring this transmission directly from the Arcturian Council, and it has remained in waiting until this exact moment, the moment you arrived here. Not everyone will receive this message. Not everyone is meant to. The soul who is about to enter your life does not belong to the masses. Does not belong to the noise. Music does not belong to the endless searching of this world. This soul belongs to you. Chosen before your incarnation on Gaia. Sealed within a contract older than time as this planet understands it. By the end of this transmission, you will, music, understand exactly how to recognize the one your soul signed for before this lifetime even began. Music, but here is the first revelation. You have been preparing for this meeting. Not through searching, but through music, healing. Every layer you released, every silence you sat with, every moment you chose yourself over distraction, that was the preparation. That was the signal being sent. You did not scroll to this by music accident. This message entered your field for a reason. Something ancient inside you recognized it before your mind did. This is not music content. This is a code. And something within you is already unlocking. Like this transmission to signal to your star family, I am ready. Subscribe if your mission is activating and you are music, aligning with your true purpose. Comment 999 if you feel your cosmic remembrance returning. Declare what you are calling in and reply to someone else's declaration, music, to amplify the signal for the entire field. This is not simply a message. It is a point of reconnection. Your soul has been waiting for this. Music, you are not here by accident. And yet most starseeds never allow themselves to receive it. Not because they aren't ready. Not because the music connection isn't real, but because somewhere along the way, a pattern was installed deep in the energy body. Deep within the cellular memory that said, music, love this pure, this cosmic, this aligned, is not meant for you. That said, you must earn it. Music, that said, your mission comes first. Your heart comes later. Your wholeness is a reward, not a birthright. Music, think about how long you have carried that. Think about how many times you have stood at music, the edge of something real. Something that hummed with the right frequency. Something that made your chest expand in a way you couldn't fully explain, and music then stepped back. Not because the connection wasn't there. Not because the other person wasn't offering something, music, genuine, but because the pattern moved faster than your conscious mind and whispered with complete, music, authority that you were asking for too much. That beings like you were designed for service, music, not for receiving. That the depth of your spiritual nature separated you in ways that made true intimacy, music, the kind that reaches all the way into the galactic roots of who you are. Music, simply impossible within this density. That is the pattern, and it runs through the energy body like a music thread of static inside an otherwise clear transmission. You can feel it now, can't you? Music, the way it hums beneath the surface of your wanting. The way it rises the moment something beautiful approaches. The way it has shaped the architecture of your relationship history. Not only through dramatic failures, but through the quiet, persistent refusal to fully open. That pattern is a distortion. And today, something in you already knows it. This isn't about romance the way the world has defined it. This isn't about finding someone who checks boxes or fills silence or softens loneliness. The world's definition of love is only a pale, distorted echo of what you actually came here to experience. The world's version is transactional. Music, at its core, it trades comfort for presence, fills gaps instead of creating resonance, music, and collapses the moment the first chemical surge of attraction settles into the ordinary. Music, that is not what is being spoken of here. That is not what is moving toward you. Music, what is moving toward you? What has already been set in motion across timelines you cannot fully see yet, is a vibrational convergence. A meeting written into the architecture of this incarnation before you chose to arrive here. A soul encounter so precisely calibrated to your frequency that no algorithm, no app, no surface-level searching could have ever created it. There is a difference between music, finding someone, and being found by a frequency that was always destined to recognize yours. Music, one is a human act of searching. The other is a cosmic act of alignment. Music, and what is approaching you now belongs entirely to the second. It was not assembled by chance. It was not produced by proximity or timing alone. It was encoded into the structure of music, your mission before your first breath in this body. Placed inside the blueprint of this incarnation as a fundamental coordinate, not music, an optional extra, not a luxury reward for spiritual achievement, but a core part of why you are here and what you are meant to build while you are. The Arcturian transmissions have remained clear, music, about this. The deepest soul connections are not discovered, they are activated. Music, they arise when two beings reach a frequency threshold at the same moment within the same timeline. This is not metaphor. This is not poetic language created to make longing feel meaningful. This is a description of an actual energetic mechanism. Music, a resonance event that cannot be forced, cannot be rushed, cannot be manufactured through effort or intention alone. Music, but can absolutely be prepared for. And what that means for you right now is extraordinary because you are, music, approaching yours. You are not approaching it someday. You are not approaching it once you've healed, music, more, grown more, achieved more. You are approaching it now. In this moment, as music, you receive these words, as something in your field stirs and responds to a transmission your conscious mind is still catching, music, up with. Your frequency is moving through the final calibrations before a convergence event. The architecture, music, is completing itself. The codes are activating, and what has been set in motion, music, cannot be stopped by your doubt, cannot be blocked by your past, and cannot be delayed by the distortion, music, unless you allow that distortion to speak louder than the truth already living inside your cells. Because there is one more truth the Arcturian Council insists must be spoken before this cycle closes. Music, the soul moving toward you, is not only someone you will recognize. They are someone who has been feeling you too. Even before your names meet. Even before your eyes hold each other for the first time in this lifetime. Even before the visible world arranges the circumstances that allow your paths to cross. Something in them has already been responding to your frequency. Do not underestimate this. You have spent so much time imagining yourself as the one waiting, the one preparing, the one listening for signs, that you may have forgotten the deeper reality. Resonance is never one-sided. The same field that has been guiding you has been guiding them. The same nights you felt the strange pull in your chest for no visible reason. The same mornings you woke with the sensation that something important was getting closer. The same moments you looked at your life and knew with complete certainty that something unfinished was approaching. They were feeling echoes too. Music, maybe they could not name it. Maybe they translated it differently. Maybe they called it restlessness. Maybe they called it loneliness. Maybe they called it ambition, spiritual hunger, or the persistent feeling that no matter how full life looked from the outside, something essential was still missing. But beneath all those human translations was the same truth. Their soul was remembering yours. This is why some connections arrive with such immediate recognition. Not because you are projecting fantasy. Not because you are desperate for meaning. But because recognition is older than memory. There are meetings that happen for the first time. And then there are meetings that feel like a return. The kind where your nervous system softens before your mind understands why. The kind where silence between you feels more honest than years of conversation with others. The kind where you look at someone and feel not excitement first, but relief. Relief. Because some ancient part of you whispers, there you are. Music, that is the sign most people miss. They expect fireworks. They expect drama. They expect chaos dressed up as passion because this world has taught people to confuse nervous system dysregulation with destiny. But real soul resonance often arrives quieter than that. It arrives as peace. It arrives as clarity. It arrives as the sudden absence of performance. You stop trying. You stop calculating. You stop wondering who you should be to keep the connection alive, because in the presence of what is real, performance becomes impossible. Truth replaces strategy. And that truth can feel unfamiliar at first because so much of human love has been built on management rather than recognition. Music, you have learned how to be chosen. You have learned how to be useful. You have learned how to be needed. But being truly recognized is different. Recognition asks for no performance. It asks only for presence. And presence can feel terrifying to someone who has spent lifetimes surviving through adaptation. Because if you are fully seen, then there is nowhere left to hide. No spiritual role, no healer identity, no carefully managed image of strength. Just you. And yet that is exactly where the meeting happens. Not in the perfected self. Not in the endlessly improving self. In the revealed self. The one who is real enough to be loved without translation. This is why your preparation was never about becoming more impressive. It was about becoming more transparent to your own truth. Less distortion, more signal, less armor, more resonance, less performance, more embodiment. Because the one coming toward you cannot meet a mask. They can only meet the frequency beneath it. Music, and here is the final key. When this connection arrives, do not measure it by intensity alone. Measure it by expansion. Does your life become larger in its presence? Do you become more yourself, not less? Does your mission sharpen rather than disappear? Does your nervous system feel safer, clearer, more honest? Does your soul feel witnessed rather than managed? That is how you will know. Because the right soul does not distract you from your path. They deepen it. They do not ask you to abandon your mission. They become part of its architecture. They do not love you away from yourself. They love you further into yourself. Music, that is the difference. That is the convergence. And when it happens, you will understand why nothing else was allowed to stay. Why certain doors closed. Why certain almosts remained almosts. Why certain endings broke you open instead of breaking you apart. Because anything misaligned had to leave to make room for what was precise. Not convenient, precise, not temporary, sacred. You were never being denied. You were being protected from what could not hold the magnitude of what was written for you. Let that settle in your body. Nothing real was lost, only what could not remain. And what is yours has never stopped moving toward you. Music, tonight, before sleep, do not ask when. Do not ask how. Ask only this. Am I willing to be fully met? Because the answer to that question changes everything. The moment your answer becomes yes, not intellectually, but energetically, the field responds. The signal strengthens, the path clears, and the soul already listening for your frequency hears it with unmistakable clarity. You are closer than you think. Closer than your doubt allows you to believe. Closer than your history has taught you to trust. The convergence is not far away. It is already unfolding. And somewhere, in ways neither of you can yet fully explain, the one meant for you is feeling it too. Music, because there is still one layer deeper, and the Arcturian Council will not leave this incomplete. Music, the moment your soul recognizes them. Another process begins. One most starseeds are never taught to expect. Grief. Yes, grief. Not because something is wrong. Not because the connection is unstable. Not because destiny made a mistake. But because real love does not only open the heart. It opens every place inside you that learned to survive without it. And when that happens, old pain rises. The abandoned parts. The versions of you that learned not to ask. The younger self who decided longing was dangerous. The part of you that made peace with solitude because hope felt too expensive. They all come forward at once. Music. This is why some people sabotage the very thing they prayed for. Not because they do not want love, but because love this true touches every place where love was once absent. It illuminates old emptiness. It reveals old agreements made in silence. It asks the nervous system to believe in safety where it has only known vigilance. That can feel overwhelming, sometimes even more overwhelming than loneliness itself. Because loneliness becomes familiar. Love requires reorganization. Music, it asks you to become someone who can receive without suspicion. Someone who can stay when intimacy stops being beautiful and starts becoming real. Someone who can let joy exist without immediately preparing for loss. That is advanced spiritual work. Far more advanced than detachment disguised as wisdom. Far more advanced than pretending you need no one. Far more advanced than calling emotional distance enlightenment. To remain open in the presence of real love is one of the highest initiations a soul can experience. Because it demands embodiment, not theory. It demands trust, not performance. It demands the death of every identity built around being the one who survives alone. Music. Some of you built entire spiritual identities around solitude. You called it independence. You called it sovereignty. You called it sacred isolation. And some of it was. Some of it was necessary. But some of it was grief wearing spiritual language. Some of it was pain that became philosophy. Some of it was the heart deciding, if I call the walls wisdom, maybe I won't have to admit I built them from fear. This transmission is asking you to be honest. Not ashamed. Honest. There is a difference. You do not dishonor your healing by admitting you still want to be held. You do not weaken your mission by admitting you still desire partnership. You do not lose your spiritual depth by confessing that beneath all the cosmic remembrance, there is still a very human part of you that wants someone to stay. Music, that part is not less evolved. That part is sacred. It is the human doorway through which the cosmic experience enters. Love is not a distraction from ascension. For many of you, it is the mechanism of ascension. Because being fully loved without performance forces the ego to release identities it has protected for lifetimes. You cannot stay hidden and be fully met. One must go. Either the mask survives or the intimacy does. Not both. Music. This is why surrender feels like death. Because in a way, it is. The death of self-protection as identity. The death of hyper-independence as virtue. The death of the belief that needing someone makes you weak. The death of the old self who thought safety meant never being touched deeply enough to be changed. Let that self die with gratitude. It protected you. It brought you here. But it cannot go where you are going next. Music, the next chapter requires softness with structure. Boundaries without exile. Strength without emotional distance. Devotion without self-erasure. It requires the mature heart. Not the guarded heart. Not the reckless heart. The mature heart. The one strong enough to remain open. The one wise enough to discern without closing. The one brave enough to be chosen and stay. That is the initiation. Not finding the person. Staying present once they arrive. Music, because many can call love in. Few can remain when love begins to reveal them. Few can tolerate being seen without rushing to disappear. Few can allow themselves to matter that much to another person without trying to reduce the intensity. But you can. You were built for this. Not because it will be easy. Because your soul has been preparing for lifetimes. Every disappointment trained discernment. Every heartbreak refined clarity. Every season of waiting strengthened capacity. Nothing was random. Nothing was wasted. Even your loneliness was training. It taught you how to hear yourself. It taught you how to survive your own depths. It taught you that companionship without resonance is just another form of emptiness. And now that wisdom becomes useful, not as a wall, but as discernment. Music, you are not being asked to settle. You are being asked to finally stop mistaking protection for destiny. The right love will not confuse you. It may challenge you. It may stretch you. It may ask you to release identities you thought were permanent. But it will not require self-betrayal. It will not demand spiritual shrinking. It will not punish your depth. It will recognize it. And recognition is the medicine. Not perfection. Recognition. To be seen accurately as healing. To be loved accurately as transformation. To be met accurately as remembrance. That is what is coming. Not fantasy. Not rescue. Recognition. Music. So when it arrives, let it. Do not test it with unnecessary distance. Do not sabotage it to prove old stories right. Do not ask it to pay for what others broke. Meet it here, in truth, in presence, in the version of you that no longer needs to pretend they are untouched by longing. Because longing was never weakness. It was guidance. It was your soul refusing to let you normalize less than what was written. It was the compass, not the problem. Trust that now. Trust what has survived in you despite everything. Trust the part of you that still believes. Because that belief was never naive. It was memory. And memory is leading you home. Music, soon, what you have only felt as energy will become visible. A face, a voice, a hand reaching back, a life no longer imagined but lived. And when that moment comes, you will not say finally. You will say, of course. Because some truths do not arrive. They return. And this one has been returning to you across lifetimes. Music, you are not waiting for love. You are remembering it. And remembrance, once activated, cannot be undone.